she was ranked outside the top 800 players on the planet. 2 years ago, she couldn't even get into the main draw of tournaments nobody watches. So how, in the name of everything sacred in this sport, did she just walk onto a court in Toronto and dismantle a Wimbledon champion in straight sets? And on the other side of the net waits a 21-year-old who, 9 days ago, didn't even have a WTA title to her name. Now she's a top 20 player with a trophy, a nation behind her, and a target on her back the size of a continent. Something is about to break in Toronto. One of these stories ends today. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand why tennis people are calling this the most dangerous third-round match of the entire season, and why almost nobody saw it coming. Let's rewind, because to understand what's about to happen, you need to understand what almost didn't. Picture an operating room in 2024. A surgeon's hands are inside the elbow of a player whose entire career is built on touch, on feel, on the kind of delicate racket work that can't be muscled, only felt. That player is Caty. And when she wakes up from that surgery, she doesn't wake up to headlines or sympathy tweets. She wakes up to silence. No cameras, no crowd noise, just rehab and doubt, and a ranking number that keeps sliding further away from her like sand through fingers. By November of that year, she's sitting at 817 in the world. Read that number again. 817. That's not a slump. That's a career flatlining in real time. She's playing on courts with no stands, no commentary, sometimes no more than a handful of strangers watching. And here's the part that should stop you cold. She keeps showing up anyway. Match after match, loss after loss, slowly, painfully climbing back one ranking point at a time, like someone crawling out of a hole with their fingernails. Now freeze that image, because we're about to cut to something completely different. A world away in tone, but somehow connected by the same tournament, the same week, the same collision course. In Spain, at an academy built by one of the greatest champions the sport has ever produced, a young left-handed girl from the Philippines is being hammered into a weapon. Heavy topspin, relentless footwork, a forehand that doesn't just hit the ball, it buries it. That's Alex. And if you think her rise has been some overnight fairy tale, think again. Because fairy tales don't usually include a ranking of 140 in the world and a wildcard entry that could have ended in humiliation. Instead, it ended in a run to the semifinals of a major tournament, knocking out players twice her experience along the way. That was the moment the locker room stopped whispering, "Watch out for her," and started saying, "She's already here." But here's your first curiosity loop, because it wasn't a straight lineup from there. Her ranking dipped. Doubt crept in. And then, just days ago, August 3rd, 2026, she does something no player from her country has ever done. World number 20, the highest-ranked Filipino in the history of the sport. First to crack the top 30, first to reach the fourth round of a major on a surface that isn't even supposed to suit her. And then, barely a week before Toronto, she wins her first WTA title outright, tearing through a field in Washington like she's been doing it her whole career. 9 wins in her last 10 matches. A 6-match win streak that's still alive. She should be feeling untouchable right now. And that's exactly the problem. Because untouchable is a feeling, not a fact. And facts have a way of humbling people at the worst possible moment. So here's where the two timelines finally slam into each other. Same tournament, same week. 2 completely different emotional temperatures. One player riding the highest high of her career. One player who, 18 months ago, thought her career might already be over. And now they're both standing in the same draw. Both 1 win away from the round of 16. Both carrying stories heavy enough to crush a lesser competitor. But wait, before we get to the match itself, you need to see what Caty just did, because it changes everything about how you should be watching this. 2 rounds ago, she walked onto the court against the newly crowned Wimbledon champion. Ranked 7th in the world, fresh off the biggest win of her career, the kind of opponent that's supposed to end a comeback story quietly, mercifully before it gets too much attention. Instead, something strange happened. Caty didn't try to out-hit her. She didn't try to match power with power, which everyone in the building expected to be a slaughter in the wrong direction. She did something far more unsettling. She slowed the game down. She sliced the ball low, lower, lower still, until the Wimbledon champion was bending her knees just to keep the ball in play. Every short ball got punished at the net with a volley so clean it looked rehearsed. It wasn't power. It was psychological warfare disguised as tennis. Straight sets. The champion walked off court looking like she'd just been out-argued, not outplayed. And somewhere, watching the draw update, Alex had to have felt something shift in her stomach, because the woman she's about to face just proved she can dismantle anyone, on any given day, using nothing but patience and precision. Now here's where it gets genuinely fascinating, because this isn't just two good players meeting in a random round. This is a collision of opposite philosophies, and the way this match unfolds is going to come down to a battle you can't fully see just by watching the scoreboard. Alex is left-handed. Caty is right-handed. That alone changes the geometry of every single rally. Alex's heavy cross-court forehand, the one that's demolished so many opponents this year, lands directly into the side of the court, where Caty doesn't hit a normal two-handed backhand at all. She slices it, which means instead of trading power for power, we're about to watch a looping, heavy topspin forehand collide over and over again with a skidding, low, deceptive slice. Two completely different physics equations happening on the same patch of hard court. Alex wants that ball sitting up around her shoulder, where she can rip through it with everything she has. Caty wants it dying low, forcing Alex to hit upward, off balance, into a shot that might land just a few inches short. And a few inches is all it takes for a predator like Caty to pounce. If Alex gets impatient, and remember, impatience is exactly what happens to a player who's used to blowing people off the court, she'll start overhitting, and errors will start bleeding out of her racket. But if Caty's slice floats even slightly too high, even once, Alex will step inside the baseline and end the point before Caty can react. This is the tightrope both of them are walking. One mistake in either direction, and the entire complexion of the match flips. But there's a second battlefield here, one that's even sneakier, and it's happening on the return of serve. Neither player is serving huge. This isn't about aces. It's about placement, timing, and nerve. Alex likes to take a small step back, give herself half a second more, and load up a heavy, deep return to seize control of the point from the very first shot. Caty does the opposite. She crowds the baseline. She slices her return short and low, and then, here's the terrifying part, she sprints forward before the ball even lands, rushing the net like she's got nothing to lose. Which, let's be honest, she doesn't. Imagine the scene. Second serve. Caty's already moving forward before Alex's toss has even come down. The slice skids in low. Caty's at the net in a blink, racket up, waiting. And Alex has a fraction of a second, not even a full second, to decide whether she goes for a razor-thin passing shot down the line or tries to dip the ball at Caty's feet before she can put it away. That single decision, repeated dozens of times over 3 sets, could be the difference between a routine win and a heartbreaking exit. Now let's talk about the ground beneath their feet, because even the court itself has an opinion on how this should go. Toronto's hard courts run medium fast, and on paper that favors Alex. Her flat, heavy strokes are built to punish surfaces like this. She's amassed over 160 career wins on hard courts, a number that dwarfs Caty's more modest tally. But medium-fast courts have a dark secret too. They also reward a nasty slice and a sharp volley, which happens to be exactly what Caty brings to the table. And there's one more variable nobody's talking about enough: the Toronto humidity in August. As the match wears on, the balls get heavier, slower, harder to put away. Longer rallies, more physical grinding. And if this turns into a war of attrition, you have to wonder who's got more left in the tank. A 21-year-old riding the high of youth and momentum, or a fighter who's already survived one career-threatening injury and a brutal 18-month comeback? That's not a small question. That might be the question. Because here's something worth sitting with for a second. Mentally, this match is close to a coin flip, and that should terrify Alex more than it excites her. She's the favorite, She's the top 20 player. She's supposed to win this. And pressure like that has a way of tightening a player's shoulders at exactly the wrong moment. Caty has none of that weight on her. She's already beaten the impossible opponent 2 rounds ago. She's playing with house money now, with nothing to protect and everything to gain. And a fearless opponent with nothing to lose is one of the most dangerous things in this entire sport. So what actually needs to happen for each of them to walk away with the win? For Alex, it's about resisting the temptation to force the issue. When Caty feeds her those short, awkward, low slices, the instinct is going to be to go for the kill immediately. And that instinct will get punished. She has to be patient, hit with margin, push Caty deep, and wait for the exact right moment to detonate her forehand instead of forcing it early. Her first serve percentage has to climb, because every single second serve is an invitation for Caty to chip and charge her way into control of the point. And she has to be surgical about attacking Caty's forehand side, the one shot in Caty's arsenal that isn't world-class, pinning her there again and again until the American is forced to hit on the run. Off balance, uncomfortable. For Caty, the blueprint is pure chaos, pure disruption. She cannot let this become a standard baseline slugfest, because in a straight power contest, she loses that fight almost every time. She has to keep changing the picture. Slice, drop shot, net rush, repeat. Never letting Alex settle into the kind of rhythm that made her nearly unbeatable over the last 6 matches. Her serve doesn't need to be powerful. It needs to be precise enough to keep the ball away from that lethal forehand return. And if she can serve and volley even a handful of times successfully, she puts Alex in a position she's rarely been in this year, reacting instead of dictating. Now zoom out, because the stakes here reach far beyond this single afternoon in Toronto. The US Open is just weeks away, and every point either of them earns here ripples forward into how that tournament unfolds. A deep run for Alex doesn't just pad a ranking. It protects her from a brutal early round draw against the very best players in the world when New York begins. It cements the idea that Washington wasn't lightning in a bottle, that she's not a rising star anymore. She's already arrived. And for Caty, this isn't about ranking points at all. Not really. It's about proving, to the tour, to the doubters, and maybe most of all to herself, that 817 was a valley, not an ending. That the surgery, the empty backcourts, the 18 months of anonymous grinding, all of it was building toward exactly this moment, not erasing her career, but resurrecting it. So who wins? Here's the uncomfortable truth. This might be one of the hardest matches on the entire schedule to call, because these two have never faced each other before. There's no history to lean on, no head-to-head record to study, nothing but pure stylistic collision and gut instinct. Caty's momentum is undeniable. You don't just casually beat a Wimbledon champion and walk away unaffected by that confidence. Her chaotic, unorthodox game is precisely the kind of puzzle that can unravel a rhythm-based player who's never seen anything like it. But it is genuinely difficult to bet against a player who's won 9 of her last 10 matches, captured a maiden title days ago, and just cracked the top 20 in the world. That level of belief doesn't evaporate overnight. My read on this, and take it as exactly that, a read, not a certainty, is that Caty draws first blood. I think she frustrates Alex early, breaks her rhythm, maybe even steals the opening set while the crowd sits in stunned silence, wondering if we're about to witness another Wimbledon champion-style upset. But I believe that somewhere in the second set, Alex starts to solve the puzzle. The heavy topspin starts finding its window. The footwork starts closing the gaps Caty's slice was exploiting. And by the third set, I think championship composure, the kind you only earn by winning a title under pressure just days earlier, carries Alex through in a brutal 3-set war that neither player will forget. But here's the thing about predictions in a match like this. They're almost beside the point. What matters is that somewhere on a court in Toronto today, 2 completely different stories are about to collide, and only one of them gets to keep writing. A meteoric rise against a resurrection from the brink. A player with everything to prove against a player with everything to reclaim. Whoever walks off that court victorious isn't just advancing to the next round. They're proving that their entire story, the highs, the collapses, the 817, The world number 20, all of it, was leading exactly here. So now it's your turn. Who do you have winning this one? The phenom chasing history or the comeback story chasing redemption? Drop your prediction below, because I promise you, whichever way this goes, we are going to be talking about this match for a long, long time. Long time.